Okay, good day, colleagues. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ginelo Moya, and I am the coordinator for business and project development at ISCA. And today we are joined here by Dr. Ravinder to facilitate and just share us a bit of knowledge on to give us knowledge on the masters and doctoral students. Okay, we can start now, but before we can do that, I'd love to just give a few housekeeping rules. Colleagues, can you please, all of us, turn off our cameras so that we can not disturb the network? And then also, can we also switch off our microphones so that we avoid background noises? Once that's done, I think we can start off with the session. And then people that are just joining in can just find us on the way while we're in progress. Okay, today we have Professor Ravinder Rena. I'm just gonna give a brief bio about him. Professor Ravinder Rena is a profound academian and distinguished scholar in economics, writer, editor, advisor, motivational speaker, and public intellectual with over 30 years in teaching and research experience in Asia Pacific, Africa, and European continent. He has been an independent consultant and training expert. Prof Rena is currently working as an adjunct professor in economics in DUT Business School, Faculty of Management Science, Durban University of Technology. He also serves as an adjunct professor of economics for master's and doctoral program at Monarch Business School. The Monarch Business School is in Heden in Zug, Switzerland. Prof Rena serves as the honorary country director for South Africa for the International Internship University, the IIU. Further, he works as a visiting professor for many universities, notably as the Sri University, the Cuttack, India. He also serves as the Global President Economic Affairs in All India Sustainable Development Council. He has worked in various institutions and has achieved a lot. I think we can go on forever if we can start going through the whole bio, but I'd love to welcome you, Prof, and you may take over the session. Thank you. Prof Rena, you may take yourself off mute and continue.
Well, Kenilwe, thank you very much for that kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and good morning or good evening, wherever you are across the globe. It's indeed a proud privilege for me to be part of this webinar series, research webinar series organized by Africa Institute of Supply Chain Research. And I must thank the president of the organization, Professor Ambe Marcus, and we've been colleagues and we worked together from the inception of this organization for the past 4 years. And I also congratulate the wonderful work that has been carried out by the organization to help the master's and PhD students across African continent. We need this kind of initiatives to help our scholars across the continent, particularly from countries like Nigeria, Zimbabwe, and maybe we have students from Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, and so on and so forth. I just would like to, the topic that was chosen for today is that understanding the quantitative research design. So this is the topic for today. Before we go to the topic, I would like to give you some brief note about the research. Why do we need to do the research for a few minutes? Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that the world population today, we are sitting with about 7.9 billion people living on this planet. Now, South Africa has got about 60 million people. India has got probably 1.4 billion people. China has got probably 1.4243 billion people. And America has got 331 million people. So this is by and large. Africa is a continent where we are sitting and sharing our ideas. Africa is a continent, it has got about 1.37 billion people. By and large, it's the same size of the population of India. So this is the population dynamics. Now, if I ask you a question that how many researchers are there in this world? Probably, can anybody answer that question? We don't have answer for that, because the problem is that we don't know how many researchers are living on this planet. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think there are some internet connectivity issues from time to time, and my apologies for that. So the researchers in this world is only 7.8 million people. We got 7.9 billion people living on this planet, but the researchers number in this world is only 7.8 million people. Now, let me give you some more details about that. Country like America, which is the largest economy, the number of researchers per every million people in America alone is plus minus about 6,000, 6,200 people, 6,200 researchers for every 1 million people in American population. So you multiply, you'll try to calculate the number of researchers in America. That means we have 331 million people there, and you calculate by 6,200 researchers. When it comes to South Africa, ladies and gentlemen, we got only 550 researchers. Now, we got population of 60 million, and we have only 550 researchers in every million people. So you can calculate how many researchers we have in our in South Africa, for example. So the number of researchers, even a country like India, which is the second largely populated country, the number of researchers are less than 200 for every million. So that is the statistic that we have for the research. Now, why do we need to do the research actually? We have so many seasonal researchers. Some of my students also, they are sitting there. Dr. Ramolibana was there before a few minutes. And so there are, we have researchers, they're all seasonal researchers. They're not serious researchers that would like to continue their research throughout their life in a sustainable manner. We don't have that kind of researchers. We have seasonal researchers. Now, many of you must be pursuing your masters or the PhDs, or probably PDF degrees, or maybe any other research related degrees, maybe in the honors level and so on. Now, once you complete these PhDs, majority of the people, not even 10% of the people, after they complete their PhDs, they still come back to the track and do the research. So this is what the research is all about. So if you are a researcher, you must feel proud about it. You are among 550 people living for every 1 million in this country alone. And you are among 7.8 million people living on this planet. You are not counting 7.9 billion, but you are one among those 7.8 million people. So this is one thing I would like to give you a statistical information so that you are encouraged to do the research. This is point number one. Point number two, before we go into details, ladies and gentlemen, that a leader is known in his country, but a scholar is known in the world.
Sorry, Prof, just sorry to disturb. Can you please share your screen, please?
Yeah, I don't have a screen. I'll talk to that
okay.
about. Can you
Okay.
give me a few minutes? Okay. Now we have the analogy here that a leader is known in his own country and a scholar is known in the world. Meaning that now we go and ask who is the president of South Africa in India, any part of India, or any part of Liberia, any part of Somalia. People, they may not know our beloved President Cyril Ramaphosa. And if we ask the same question here to Limpopo or to Mpumalanga or somewhere we go and ask some common man living in rural areas, who is the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, they don't know about his name. But if I ask the same question to a school child, do you know Einstein? Probably definitely they said yes. So do you know Shakespeare? They would also say yes. Do you know probably Graham Bell, or probably many other researchers, Thomas Alva Edison, they may say yes. So meaning that I just wanted to compare, the leader is known only in geographical territories, but a scholar is known in the world. So that is why, ladies and gentlemen, if you become a serious scholar, one day we all will be leaving this world for good. But the scholarly work that you contribute, somebody will cite you. Somebody will try to remember you even after you leave this world for good. And that will make you alive all the time. So that is the kind of beauty in this research. That is why if you talk about Joseph Schumpeter, who is considered to be the father of innovation, a father of uncertainty, father of entrepreneurship, and he died more than 75 years ago. We still remember Joseph Schumpeter because of his scholarly contributions. So please think about that and try to make yourself, don't worry about your awards and rewards. Just think about the honest and dedicated contribution that you could able to contribute to this world that will make you alive. And we have Nobel Prize winners like Amartya Kumar Sen, who was the first Asian economist to receive the Nobel Prize in 1998. And he has got his Google citation index. If you look at, he has got 350,000 citations actually. So he's probably about close to 90 years old, 88, 90 years old. Maybe in the coming few years, he may be leaving, and he may be leaving this world, but he will be remembered for his theories. Even for African drought, he contributed his articles, he will be remembered. So this is what I would like to unpack with you before I go to the research design topic. And in the interest of time, ladies and gentlemen, I just would like to touch upon some salient features of research design. Whenever we talk about research design here, I would like to mention here one more point that I'm not going to use any PowerPoint as such, but there is a colleague of mine, Professor Shalini Aggarwal. I requested her to also to take part in this session. And once I finish my portion, and Professor Shalini Aggarwal also will take over, and she will present with the probably PowerPoints. And so that is what the arrangement has been made.
Oh, okay.
So I think Dr. Shalini, are you available? You are muted. Shalini,
yes, sir, you're audible. Yes,
yes,
you're audible.
Yeah, just get ready with your PPTs. I think
Right,
Kenilwe, you can also give Shalini the sharing right so that she would be able to share her PPT. So yeah, you can just give to Shalini about that. And then I would like to mention here, ladies and gentlemen, that research design is the core. A core, it's like a pillar of research, in a sense that it can become like a heart, the important part of our body. Of course, every part of our body is equally important, but heart is more important because we always say heart. But everything we speak, we say heart, soul, mind, and together. So research design is like a heart to the research, meaning that it has a kind of important place in research. So it encompasses all the things that we do. It's like a roadmap, meaning that whenever we wanted to build a building, or whenever we wanted to have some structure, a construction, we need to have that kind of map, and that will guide us. So here in this research design also, this encompasses what is the way that you wanted to collect the data, for example. What is the way that you would like to apply the tools, techniques, and methods to analyze the data? What is the way that you would like to report and discuss your research results? So all those things, all the techniques that we talk about, we will be talking about quantitative techniques, we'll be talking about qualitative techniques, all those things. Research design is the one, it is one platform where we try to get all this information. And it's not only just stand alone, but also try to integrate with all other components in research. So that is the beauty of research design. So that is why the conference, the webinar organizers of ISCA has chosen this particular topic today, research design in the interest of our master's and PhD students. I also would like to mention here that unfortunately in our African continent, though we have the best African scholars working in America, working in Europe, working in different parts of the world, we have very good scholars, reputable scholars. Those are good with quantitative techniques. They're also good with qualitative techniques. But majority of our students in South Africa, majority of students in African continent, they are struggling with the quantitative techniques. So that is unfortunate. And whenever they hear about heteroscedasticity or homoscedasticity or regression analysis and all those econometric techniques, and people, they are scared. And we need to unpack today that it is nothing to be scared of the quantitative techniques. Both the quantitative and qualitative techniques, they are considered to be the two sides of the same coin. You cannot completely do the research without having the support of the qualitative. You cannot also do an independent research purely based upon the qualitative research without using some statistics, some mathematical modeling, some econometric modeling, and so on. So therefore, they should be integrated. So in the research design process, whether you use qualitative techniques, whether you use probably Atlas TI software, or on the quantitative side, you use maybe econometric view, which is popularly known as e-views. We got SPSS, most of you are aware of that. And we got so many other softwares like R-Square we have, Data Carpentry we have, MATLAB we have, and Statistica we have, and so on and so forth. There could be more than 30, 40 softwares that deals with this kind of issues. So, and in the interest of time, ladies and gentlemen, I think let me invite our colleague, Professor Shalini Aggarwal. She's an associate professor working in Chandigarh University, and she did her master's, she did her MBA, and she did her MSc in computer science. She also did her PhD, and she's a senior researcher, and she's been into research for more than 1.5 to 2 decades. She's also written substantial number of papers, particularly on the forecasting areas. In fact, we are also written an article together, and which is going to be published soon, probably during the course of this year. So I requested Dr. Shalini, because this is the topic that also she would be like to take part, and she would like to share her experiences with us, and she would like to engage. She's been training e-views, econometric views. She's also training a lot of researchers across India and across the globe in terms of SPSS, in terms of so many other modeling. So I would like to invite Dr. Shalini and colleagues, if you have any questions and answers or clarifications that you would like to have at the end of this presentation, you are most welcome to ask either Professor Shalini or myself. We will address those issues. Thank you very much, Kinelwe and Professor Ambe Marcus. Over to Dr. Shalini.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Professor Rena. So I would like to talk about on the topic. Let me share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
So is my
Yeah, go ahead, Shalini.
Okay,
That's fine.
Okay. Okay.
Can you just
thank you once again, Professor. Yes, ma'am.
Can you just please put it on presentation mode?
Presentation mode. How to do that? Achha, okay, presentation. Okay, I'll do it.
Yes, so that the screen will appear. Yeah.
Okay, right.
I think this is the...
Okay, but I won't be able to switch between the tabs. Chalo, okay, I'll do the escape button in that case. Thank you once again, Professor Rena, and good afternoon to one and all present here. So today I'll be talking about the topic understanding quantitative research design. So my first question to first of all, what I would like to talk about is, can I just do this, because I'll be sharing the screen. I'll be sharing a lot many PPTs and other Word files and all that, because I'll be giving more examples rather than theory and only talking through PPT. So I think I need to put it into this view only. Is that okay? Will that be okay?
Yes, that's okay.
Rena sir, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Shalini,
Okay.
go ahead.
So let me give it. Okay. So let me start with an example. Let's say there is a company, right? Let's say there is a Reliance company and it wants to launch its new product in the market, right? So this company wants to see the response of the people. Let's say, because when a product is launched into the market, so it's a big thing for a company. So the company, let's say, want to go for a pilot research, right? They want to go for a pilot research. What does it mean? It means at a small place, let's say in Delhi, in a South Africa itself, a small place in South Africa, they just tested it among the consumer. They sold the product at a very small place in South Africa, and they want to see the response of the people with regards to that. So what they will do, they will design a questionnaire. They will design a questionnaire, and they would like to know the response of the people with respect to that product. So this is how this is, and they would like to see. They're saying somebody saying they are seeing Professor
Dr.
Rena instead
Shalini,
of
I
you
think
present.
they are seeing me instead of your PPT. Can you kindly share your PPT? I don't know
Okay,
how come I'm appeared there on that screen.
okay, okay,
Okay, now it's better.
okay.
Yeah,
I think
please.
now it must be visible, right?
Joseph, is it
So
fine
what I
now?
was trying to
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
So what I'm trying to, okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is, why do we go for data analysis? What is the purpose of doing a research? So this is the example. The research is most important basically for the companies who wants to launch a new product, right? So they want to analyze the data, right? So what they will do is, like, let me show you. I have opened one screen. Let me show you one screen. This is a questionnaire, right? So with the help of a questionnaire, what they will do is, with the help of a questionnaire, they will collect the data, right? So let's just understand. This is an example of one questionnaire. This is right. This is an example of a questionnaire. You can see from here, this is a work-life balance questionnaire, and this is through how, what they will do is, they will try to collect the responses of the people by designing a questionnaire and analyze the data and try to see how it is, whether the things needs modification or not. So this is what is called as a, why do we need research? So what I'm trying to tell you here is, basically, why do we need research? Like, the research is basically needed by the companies, right? And we need to collect the data. When we are doing a research, we need to collect the data. So how do we collect the data? So this is one way of collecting the data, that is through questionnaire. So you can see an example of a questionnaire through which you can collect the data from, right? So this is one example. So this is called as a, uh, that is why the research is important, right? So what are the different steps that are needed in data analysis? Right now we have got the data. So this is one way of getting the data. And what are the different steps in analyzing the data? So the first most important thing is, we need to find out there is a requirement. So this is the first step. We need to find out there is a requirement. Second is, we need to collect the data either through certain source. Like I told you, there is a this is one way of collecting the data, that is through questionnaire, right? We get the data collected through questionnaire. After that, once the data has been collected, it has to be cleaned. And after that, we have to use the data analysis. Means what? Means we have to use certain tools to analyze the data, and in the last we have to make the interpretations, right? So these are the different steps of data analysis. So there are these are the different steps. Now let me talk about, there are two types of data analysis that falls into two types. First is the quantitative analysis, and second is the qualitative analysis. So what do we mean by quantitative analysis? So let me take you to an example onto this. This is one paper. This is one paper where the author has tried to analyze the data through quantitative techniques. Quantitative techniques, right? So there are basically two methods of analyzing the data. That is quantitative, and second is qualitative. So what is the difference between the two? Quantitative involves numerical data. So you can see from here, this is the demographic profile of a respondent, and this data has been collected through questionnaire, right? So you can see from here, this is the demographic profile. This is the demographic profile of the respondent. Further, this person, let me take you to this. So you can see from here, there is involvement of the numerical data, right? You can see when we are talking about quantitative techniques of analyzing the data. So what does that mean? It means we are using the numerical data, right? So this is an example of a quantitative data. Let me take you to another study. Again, this study. This is another paper written by a researcher where he has tried to analyze the data using the quantitative techniques, not the qualitative techniques, right? So here the numbers is involved, right? He's playing with the numbers, right? And he's playing with the numbers. So this is called as a quantitative data. So let me take you to another example, qualitative data. So there is a difference between the two types of data. One is your quantitative data and second is your qualitative. So quantitative data, I have already told you that it involves the numbers. Whereas in qualitative data, we used the statements. We do not make use of the numbers. Please remember this. So we do not use the numbers.
Your mic got muted, Shalini madam.
Sorry, I don't know how it got unmuted. Okay, so this is another example. This is another paper. This is a professor from IIM Ahmedabad. So he has worked on a qualitative data. Now I'm talking about the qualitative data. So this is an example of a qualitative data where we are not making use of the numbers. Instead, we are making use of the statements given by the people when we are collecting the data. I want everybody. This is on the dignity of a labor. So this paper the author has written is on the dignity of the labor. So you can read it like this is the quote, right? So this is a quote that has been given by the respondent. So this is how the qualitative data is, and the studies look like. So let me take you to another example of this. Look at this, another statement. This is on the ATM card paper. So just read it. When I came to join this job from my village, I had just 5,000 rupees with me. I had to deposit 1,200 to the agency for uniform expenses and my original documents. My wage was 3,200, but if I was caught sleeping, a deduction. So what is this? So I think you can see a remarkable difference between the quantitative and qualitative data. So here, what is the difference in qualitative and quantitative? We are using the quotes that has been given by the people. So this is an example of a qualitative data. So in the whole of the study, in this whole paper, just look at this, what this author has done. Just look at this. He has used only the remarks given by the people, quotes and unquotes, right? So this is an example of a qualitative data that make use of the statements or the quotes given by the respondents. And what is a quantitative data? The first most important thing before starting a research is that the author must be very much sure whether he wants to go for a quantitative data or a qualitative data, because both the studies are different, right? Quantitative data, we make use of the numbers, right? And let me show you once again. This is an example how we collect the quantitative data, right? Numbers, when we are playing with the numbers. So this is one way of collecting the data, that is through questionnaire, right? And this is a questionnaire. So I hope everybody has understood the difference between the quantitative data and qualitative data, right? So let's move ahead of it. This, where it is used. The quantitative research is widely used in natural and social sciences, biology, chemistry, psychology, economics, sociology, and marketing, etc. So this is the area where the people all over the world, they uses the quantitative research. That is these areas. The people use the quantitative research. So now, the most important the most important question that comes to our mind is, how do we collect the quantitative data? You know, there are different techniques through which we can analyze the quantitative data. So what are the different methods? So the most important question is, how do we collect the data, right? When we are doing a quantitative study, so how we are going to collect the data? So first, most important way of collecting the data is through questionnaire. So I have already shared with you the design of a questionnaire, the sample design of a questionnaire. So this is a questionnaire in which there is a scale. There is a 5-point Likert scale that has been used, right? So this is one way of collecting the quantitative data. I'm talking about the quantitative data, right? So what are the other ways? Other ways of collecting the data, quantitative data, is your secondary data. Even with the help of a secondary data, let me show you an example of a secondary data. Let me show you, it is just opening up. This is an example of a secondary data. What is it? Let me give you an example. When we talk about the time series analysis, right? Time series analysis, we do the analysis of the different countries of the world, right? You can see date wise. So this is a secondary data. Secondary data, I hope this term is very much clear to all of you. The difference between the primary and secondary data, I hope it is clear. So secondary data is, let me give you a brief of it. Secondary data is the one that has already been there in this, there exists in this world, and we just are using it to analyze this, right? So this is an example of a secondary data. The stock market, stock indexes of different countries, right? So if we are making use of it and analyzing the data, right, for future use. So this is an example of a secondary data, and you can see it is a past data. You can see the dates are 7/30/2021, 7/29/2021. So it's a past data. So that has already been there on the indexes of the different exchanges of the world. But the only thing that we have done is we have gathered this data and try to analyze this data. Let me show you an example even of this. I have written one paper onto this. Let me show you how I have analyzed this secondary data. The tools that can be used, the one tool that can be used, let me write it this way. A minute. So what I'm talking about is the secondary data. I hope my screen is visible to all. So what is secondary data? Already existing data, right? And we make use of it to, for further future direction or predictions, right? So what I'm, the tool, let me tell you the tool used to analyze the secondary data. One of the tool is eViews. This is the software. Please understand, this is the software that is used to analyze the secondary data, one of the tools, right? And let me show you, this is one of my papers I have written with one of my PhD scholars. So this is what we have done. Just look at this. This is the unit root test that we have applied onto this. I'm talking about a time series, right? And the analysis of that. This is the co-integration tables, VECM models and all that, right? So this is the analysis with the help of a secondary data. So what I have shown you is an example of a secondary data using the time series analysis, right? So this is how you can write your paper using the time series analysis, and this is an example of a secondary data as well. And we are playing with numbers again. I hope you understand. We are playing again with the numbers. You can see from here. So this is what is this example all about? So we are talking about a quantitative data. Quantitative. This is the difference, quantitative data, right? We make use of numbers in this case. And what do we use in the qualitative data? We use the quotes of the respondents, and no data and no numbers is being used. So this is the major difference between the two types of studies, that is a quantitative data and qualitative data. So what is the topic that we are doing is methods of data collection for quantitative study. So first I have talked about is a questionnaire. Second is through secondary data. Third is through interviews. There must be some people who doesn't know how to fill the questionnaire, right? So what we do is we just take the interviews of those people and we fill the questionnaire by ourselves. So that is another method of data collection. Next method of data collection is through observation. Like we make observation when people are doing the work in the real situation, right? When the people, they're doing the work and we try to observe their behavior and we try to make the analysis on the basis of that by using numbers again. So that is called as a observation method. So these are the different techniques of data collection. These are some of the techniques of data collection when we are doing the quantitative study, right? So these things are important, and we must know when a researcher is writing a paper, he must know about all these techniques and he should know which method he should be using, right, before the start. Techniques, what are the different, how do we analyze now? So this is the how do we collect the data. This topic was how do we collect the data. So the next topic is how do we analyze the data that has been collected. So the next topic is how do we analyze the data. The next topic is how do we analyze the data that has been collected. Now this is the topic that I'll be talking about right now. Right? So what are the different methods? How do we analyze? First is the descriptive analysis. Let me give you an example of a descriptive analysis. So in this Word file, you can see from here. Just look at this. This is an example of a descriptive analysis. Descriptive analysis means what? The basic demographic profile of the respondent. Please understand, let me take you to a questionnaire. The questionnaire, when we are designing a questionnaire, the questionnaire is divided basically into two parts. I hope everybody must be knowing about this. The questionnaire is divided into two parts, right? First is the basic demographic profile of the respondent. You can see from here, this is the basic demographic profile. Like it includes the name of the employee, age, educational qualification, name of the organization. So work experience, annual income, total earnings of your household. So these are what you call as demographic profile. And second part, now you just look at this questionnaire, the how it has been designed. First 21, 22 question is the first 22 question is the demographic profile. Now comes the main part of the questionnaire, right? The question related to the subject, basic subject of the research of the respondent. So you can see from here. So the first part was the basic demographic profile, and second part includes the questions pertaining to the research subject, right? So these are the different questions you can see from here. You can go through as well. Just look at this. This is on a 5-point Likert scale. I always do prayers either in the morning or evening. This is the, these are the questions that is related to the research topic, right? So what I'm trying to show is, so what is the techniques of, what is the topic that we are doing is the techniques of quantitative data analysis, and first is descriptive analysis. So I was giving you an example of a descriptive analysis like this. When we are using the means, frequency, and all that, standard deviation, and analyzing the data, so that is called as a descriptive data, right? So you can see from here the education level. So this is called as a descriptive data, right? So another way of analyzing the data is the factor analysis. Right? So let me take you to another paper of mine where I have done an analysis of the factor analysis. Let me take you to this paper. This is a paper, right? So here factor analysis means what? This is another tool of analyzing the data, right? Quantitative data. When we are talking about the quantitative data, so we should know all the tools that can be used while analyzing the data. So this is another tool, and that tool is called as a factor analysis tool. What do we do in that case? We like there are so many statements, right? And we divide the statements into different heads. It's a complicated one. So just let me tell you only into this. This is another way of analyzing the data that is called as a factor analysis, right? What I'm trying to tell you is the techniques. Next is the regression analysis. Let me tell you one thing. This regression analysis is the most important tool of data analysis. Everybody should understand this regression analysis. Most of the things the researchers do is based on this regression. The regression is the most important tool of analyzing the data, right? Everybody, they try to use it, right? So let me take you to an example of a regression data. So let me explain this in a minute to you. This is what do we do in regression? This is, let's say this is sales and this is advertisement, right? So this is a data of a particular company. The company is spending this much of money on advertisement, and the corresponding sales over the previous year with respect to advertisement is given here. Let me repeat this again. What I'm trying to tell you is the relationship between advertisement and sales. Sales of a company is dependent on the advertisement. I hope you agree with this. Sales is dependent on the amount of expenditure that is done on advertisement, right? So this is an example of a company who has spent some amount in different years on advertisement, and this is the corresponding sales figure that is given here. So on the basis of the past data, the company wants to make a prediction for the future, and that is called as a regression, right? That is called as a regression. This is the most important tool that is used by the researchers to make analysis or make prediction in the future. Regression is a very, very, very powerful tool, right? And we must know that this is the, I'm just talking about the simplest of the regression examples. This is the most simple regression example. And the equation that comes out with this is y is equal to a plus bx. This is the most simple regression example that I'm talking about, right? So it's a very complicated, matlab, if you get into the deeper of it, so it's a very complicated process, right? So this is y is equal to a plus bx, right? So let me, this is a time series analysis. I have already given you an example of a time series analysis. This is an example of a time series analysis. This is another way of analyzing the data using the quantitative techniques, right? So this is the another method. ये you know, ये this is only a brief outlining that I'm talking about right now, because this is a whole process in itself. There are very huge tests that needs to be understood, that everybody needs to understand, right? So it's a big thing. It's a big thing that we have to understand. Like it will take me a whole lecture if I talk about the time series analysis, if I talk about the regression analysis, factor analysis, and descriptive. So it will take a huge time, right? So this is a whole topic in itself. So we cannot cover this. I just can tell you only the outline in this particular lecture. So moving ahead, what are the different softwares that we can use? So let me tell you this. There are different software, because you know, if you're going to do the calculation by your hands, it will take a huge amount of time. So now there's so many software that has come upon that will help you to analyze the data, right? Even the quantitative and qualitative as well, both. There are different software, right? So when we talk about the quantitative data, what are the different software that we can use? We can use MOS, SEM, SPSS, Data, SAS, R, MATLAB, GMP, Python, Excel. So there are a number of software on which we can analyze the data using the quantitative, the quantitative data. And this is for qualitative data. Please understand, that was the previous one we talked about was quantitative data. Quantitative data, the software that can be used, right? So these are the software. And if we talk about the qualitative data, so what are the different softwares that can be used? That is NVivo, Atlas, Provelis, Quirkus, Mastek, Deduce, Ravenseye. So there are a lot many. And with the help of these software, you can analyze your qualitative data, right? And it's become so easy to analyze the data. And there is this is also on a qualitative data analysis. So what are the different techniques now? Again, we talked about, before this we talked about what we talked about the quantitative. Now we are talking about the qualitative, right? So what are the different methods of analyzing the data? Content analysis, narrative analysis, and grounded theory. So these are the different methods of analyzing the data. And you know, if we talk about each single topic, it's a topic in itself, and that needs a that will take a huge time, right? So I think, thank you so much, and I hope you have liked the lecture. And if you have any questions and queries, I'm ready to answer. Please ask any point that is
Professor
not
Shalini,
clear.
thank you very much for that wonderful presentation.
Thank you, sir. Somebody is saying
Yes,
something, right?
I think thank you. You try to cover the important aspects of the quantitative research design with the software support. And also explain about the types of research design. Basically, we do have several types, but broadly we can categorize them into four, which you covered: descriptive analysis, and we also got regression analysis, and then we have time series analysis. and we have factor analysis and all other analysis can be also taken into account. And the quasi-experimental analysis and experimental analysis also can be added, but maybe at the probably in a later sense when we discuss about each and every analysis that you're talking about. For instance, if we would like to train our students with the factor analysis alone, then we target the factor analysis only. If we want to target about SEM modeling, structural equation modeling, we'll concentrate only on that. If we want to talk about the PLS, partial least square methods and using the SEM modeling, we can also target about that. Maybe in due course of time, probably from July onwards, we are aiming to start some kind of lectures I think, colleagues, there are some internet connections from my side. I don't know whether you are able to hear me. Hello.
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear.
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry for that. I do have some internet connection challenges. Yeah, so we will try to target those detailed discussion about training and about the quantitative methods and quantitative research. Due course of time, starting from next month, I was speaking to Professor and also the organizers. Maybe we will try to schedule a program, and then we can try to discuss more details about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I think with this we come to an end, and I would like to open the floor for question and answers. Please, if you got any question or answer, probably any concerns or clarifications, you're most welcome to approach. Thank you.
There is a sir. There is one question from Pisha Teresa. Should I answer it?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, Bisha, I have. You have asked a question. What is the reason to use regression analysis or to specify the model to be used? Let me tell you one thing. Whenever the model we are going to use depends on the type of the data that we have collected and the type of the study that we are doing, right? It all depends on data collection and your model that you are specifying. Like there are certain models that needs regression, so there we use the regression analysis. Like so there is one question from going into this paper. So it all depends on that. Visha, any other query, Visha? Okay. There is one more question. Can we get the presentation material, please? Yes, Derecha Girma. I definitely can send you my PPT if you want, and others is my papers that I have shown you. But if you want, I can share some of my papers that is already being published, and that is what I have used. Even my Excel files and all that I can share with you. But let's see. Any other question? So any other thing?
What
Any
is
other
your area
query?
What is your area of?
Hanji. What is, sir? I'm not able to understand what you are talking about. Can you write your question, Ravikant sir? Yeah. Area of
Area of
Ravikantji,
research.
can you please?
Area of research currently going on.
My area of
Yeah.
research. I'm basically a professor in finance and time series analysis. I have done a multiple, like, because my PhD students are in different, but otherwise my area of research is finance based. Finance, maybe even stock market. I'm very fond of doing the papers onto that. Yeah, the latest paper that I've worked on is financialization of the household sector with Professor Ernesto at IIM Ahmedabad. Yes. Any other query?
Colleagues, the floor is still open for any kind of clarification that you would like to have from us.
Any detailed session would you like to? I think there is no one, I suppose so. Professor Rena, I think there is no. I think there's no query. Professor Rena, can you hear me?
Internet will be out.
Hanji, I cannot. Yeah, definitely, Michael. I will send you my slides. Don't worry, that I'll do. Uh, Hanji, Dr. Ravikant, you are trying to say something. I cannot. You want to publish your paper. This is what you are trying to say. That I've done on the postgraduate. Is there any free
Currently wants to
international
publish.
publisher? Hanji.
Currently wants
Okay, there is.
to know.
There are so many papers. There is so many.
You put your email in the chat box, therefore they may communicate you later. I'm much interested in further research.
Sure, I'll do it. Yes, Bisha, you can use the probability and logic model, but that all depends on the your data. I'm again saying that. Please understand, it all depends. The regression example that I've given you is a very simple regression example. I've already told you this thing. Just look at this. This is when we are talking about a simple regression. This is in numerical terms. The sales and advertisement, that is in numbers, but just imagine your dependent variable is yes or no. Let's say your dependent variable is yes or no, then you will be using the logic model. So here you are not going to use. I'm talking about regression is a very powerful tool, and that is regression is a very powerful tool that cannot. The example that I already gave you is the example that I have given you for the regression is a very simple example, right? And it is not a typical one. So that is why definitely you can use that. And the dependent variable, when it is yes no, so you can use the different that thing. And when it is metric, non-metric, it all depends on the kind of the data that you have. Please understand, the models that you will be using, logit or probit, that depends on the kind of the data that you have. This is a very simple example of regression, I already told you. And if you go into the in-depth of it, it needs a full lecture onto that. Not even a full lecture, more than one lecture, right? If you want to understand the different types of regression. So this is the simple regression, right? So because both the things are in numbers, both the dependent and independent variables are in numbers. But when the dependent variable or independent variable are different, like they must be on the liquid scale. Even you are say this dependent variable models that you'll be using. So there comes the role of logic or probit, not here. I hope that is okay with you.
I think Josephat was asking about parametric and
Right.
non-parametric examples.
Vesha, I hope I have given you the answer to that question of yours. Why not the probit and logic model, I feel, right? Sir, I'm not, sir, your voice is not very clear. Rena, sir, can you please say what you are saying again?
Well, I think Professor Shalini, Nagesh or somebody was Joseph was
Parametric
asking
and non-parametric data.
parametric examples. Yeah, can you just shed a light on that?
एक minute, just give me a minute. Parametric and non-parametric था. जैसे if you talk about the ratio, एक minute. There is a different types of scale, different types of data, right? That is interval scale, ordinal, nominal, ratio. Acha, okay, you are talking about parametric and non-parametric. Sorry, parametric and non-parametric. एक minute. Parametric and non-parametric is the test that you can use in parametric is where the data is normally distributed. Okay, the parametric test is parametric test is where the data is normally distributed. Please understand this is what is, and non-parametric is where the data is not normally distributed. It is the opposite, where the data is not normally distributed, and the test that we use for the parametric test is the t-test, ANOVA, MANOVA. These are some of the tests that we used for the parametric test. And non-parametric test we use the tools like chi-square test and other tests, right? So these are this is the major difference between the parametric and non-parametric. And when the sample size is big, like if we take around 400 sample size, so we always consider that our data is normally distributed and we go for the parametric test. So this is the difference between the parametric and non-parametric. Yes, I just got skipped from my mind. Just any other query? Yeah.
I think that is clear, Professor Shalini, and thank you for that clarification. Any other questions? We will take one more question, ladies and gentlemen. If not, we'll try to conclude our session for today. We'll take one more question and give you one more minute. It's a pleasure, Josephat Nagesh. Are you from Ethiopia, gentlemen? Okay. Right, is Professor Ambe Marcus is around? Maybe he can give some vote of thanks from Kenya. Thank you, Josephat. Professor Ambe Marcus, would you like to conclude?
Sorry, Prof. Professor Ambe is not around.
Okay.
His profile is here.
But Kenelwe, thank you. I think colleagues and the scholars from different parts of Africa, and Professor Shalini from India, and we also have colleagues from different other African countries. So thank you very much for the opportunity, ISCA, Africa Institute of Supply Chain Research. We will always support you. And we've been providing a free service to all our African scholars because we want you to grow. We want to grow our timber, actually, African timber, because we need researchers since the whole world is one side and Africa is on the other side. Africa has got more problems than the rest of the world. Therefore, in order to address our own problems, we need African scholars because Africa is for Africans. And African problems can be resolved by African scholars as well. So with that note, ladies and gentlemen, it's always, a proud privilege for me to be part of this particular event. And also, I must thank our colleague and friend, Professor Shalini Aggarwal, for sharing her experiences and her insights about the understanding the quantitative research design. And she was indeed covered many aspects, but in a matter of a few half an hour to 45 minutes, any research design is incomplete because we can only give you the outline. But if you want us to have the detailed discussion, and we are going to have probably the series that we're going to start from July, and we will target each and every pinpoint, and we will take maybe a few hours about every topic. So that's what we are planning to do with the support of ISCA. And so colleagues, whoever is interested, you can also take part in the near future. But I must thank Kinilwe. You have done a wonderful job, and all of your fellow colleagues from ISCA team. And again, thanks to Professor Ambe, and thanks to everybody who is taking part in this particular webinar series today. Thank you, Ravinder.
Thank you, Prof. Bye, colleagues.
So, Kinilwe, should we end the session?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, colleagues. You may end the session. Thank you.
All right, Kinilwe.
Yeah,
Thank you.
bye.
And we will send you the PPTs via Kinilwe. Okay.
Yes, 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 Prof.
So we'll send to Kinilwe, and Kinilwe will distribute to the participants here.
Yes,
Is that
definitely.
fine?
Yes,
Thank you.
Prof.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
So Shalini, thank you once again.